Welcome to a new series of the Dissidents Podcast with your co-hosts Jennifer Richmond and Brandy Shufutinsky. In this series, we explore the radical roots of liberated ethnic studies, how extreme ideology is infiltrating our schools, and the aim to indoctrinate instead of educate, and our search for solutions to empower parents, teachers, and students, giving them the tools to embrace inquiry and to express their individuality. Welcome back to our new series of the Dissidents Podcast, where we talk about trends and politicization. I didn't even say that right. Let's start that again. Politicization of the classroom, with a focus really on ethnic studies, with my co-host Brandy Shufutinsky. And today we have Amy Lesserman. So Brandy, take us away with some introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. It's great to be back here speaking with you. And Amy, we're really happy to have you with us today. Amy Lesserman is a teacher in LA Unified School District with over 25 years of experience and holds credentials in both history and English. And so, Amy, you've expressed to us before how you're very interested in ethnic studies, what's happening in ethnic studies, because of how relevant it is to both of the subjects that you're not only credentialed in, but that you've been teaching. So we're really happy to have you here, to have your expertise, to hear your voice with what you're seeing, especially given that you have so many years teaching in LA Unified, which for those who aren't aware is the second largest, I believe, school district in the country, holds a wealth of diversity as far as student populations from race, ethnicity, culture, linguistic background, socioeconomic status. You know, there's students from all over the place that are kids in the LAUSD school system, and I know that you've taught all of them. So we're happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Yeah, and with that, Amy, I would just love for you to give your own kind of background of yourself, but then also what you've been seeing with regards to ethnic studies in the classroom.
Well, I want to say, first of all, that one of the reasons that ethnic studies fit so well with both English studies and history studies or social studies is that most education about ethnic studies actually takes place in the English classroom, because it occurs through literature studies or through careful text reading. And in reality, history teachers are really on a very tight calendar of what they have to cover in a certain amount of time in order to hit all of the standards. And even with ethnic studies taking either a 10-week or a 20-week semester in public education, that's also a very tight schedule, and it covers a tremendous diversity of populations. Consequently, if you really want to cover something in depth, often the best place to do it is a literature classroom.
That's a good point.
So, Amy, you just said something really interesting. I mean, so much of what you're seeing comes through the classroom, and it comes through literature. Can you give us some concrete examples of what you've been seeing with regards to ethnic studies specifically, and how that's kind of showing up in the classroom?
I have not seen any positive. I haven't seen any positive impact of ethnic studies showing up in my classroom because I don't teach ethnic studies, but I do have students coming in saying some foolishly absurd things. In part, I think because there are no academic standards for ethnic studies. There are 4 vastly different geographic populations to cover. And most of the time, that takes place over a 10-week period, because most schools now are switching to a 4x4 academic schedule, meaning that an academic semester is now only about 10 weeks long. So a teacher teacher in ethnic studies is required to cover Native American Indian studies, Mexican American or Latinx studies, Asian American studies, and African American studies in a ridiculously compressed time period. It allows really only about 2.5 weeks per area, which is very, very little time. And as in all classes, teachers have to spend a certain amount of time in getting to know their students, in team building and social emotional development to benefit the students and make it possible for them to learn. And it also gets disrupted, like everything else, for standardized assessments. And so it really reduces the amount of time for qualitative instruction. On the other hand, a literature teacher can cover something like this. I Was Told to Come Alone, which is by Swad Mechenet, and talks about traveling behind the lines of jihad. And by being able to spend a month on a book, we're covering many, many different issues, and possibly many different cultures. And there are countless books behind me that really demonstrate this point. So I have the luxury of being able to spend 3 or 4 weeks on a single area. And really, ethnic studies teachers don't have that luxury. And in addition, they don't have specific standards that they're expected to address.
So that you bring up a fascinating point, and it brings me back to, as an undergrad, I took an English literature class where all of the authors we read were either African or African diaspora writers. And it was fascinating because we got this like wealth of narratives from people from all different places they were at the time and different experiences. But it also raises the question, if even if there were so-called standards, or if ethnic studies became more standardized, I wonder if it would be done correctly, because it doesn't seem as though the learning you're talking about, going deep into all of these, diverse communities and kind of learning a bit more about them, that doesn't seem to be the goal. The goal seems to be a lot more ideological.
The goal in California teacher college programs, the public teacher college programs, which are the state colleges and state university system of California, is not to cover a certain specific area in depth. That is not what it's about. It's about promoting a Marxist ideology, quite frankly. It's about promoting exclusionary studies that really don't advance the best interests of students. I know so many people who say, as you did, they took a life-changing literature class that enabled them to look at a variety of ways of life from multiple perspectives and authors and historical situations that maybe they hadn't considered before or looked at in depth. Even my husband, who was an LAUSD student back in the 1960s, has reported that taking the equivalent to the time of in ethnic studies course really, exposed him to how many interesting authors that he had never thought about much. But that in-depth instruction mostly does take place, just like most Holocaust education takes place, in an English class most of the time, because history teachers have to cover an enormous amount of information very quickly.
So do you think it's a time concern? I'm sorry, Jen. I will, as a shout out to all of my wonderful history teachers, because it was my favorite subject. I think that there's a way to kind of go deeper in learning if the goal is actually to generate curiosity and understanding, even in a history course. I think there's a way to diversify what peoples and communities are included in any history or social studies course. Maybe not the same way that it would happen in the language arts or English, literature course. But it just, the question keeps coming up. If the goal of say the mandate at the ethnic studies mandate, or how some people are pushing ethnic studies, isn't to generate that curiosity and understanding, if it's to do something else entirely.
I really have to concur. There is a way to help people understand issues thematically,
Mm-hmm.
or to look at a single topic across a period of time, or to understand the impact of one set of experiences upon another. And that's really valuable. In my opinion, a smarter way to teach history would probably be to extend history instruction and make sure that academic standards include the experiences of people who in the past might not have been included in those academic standards, and have it be taught from the perspective of a historian, or somebody who is used to teaching things as a historian. Because right now in the United States, in general, not in every school district, but in general, students have ancient world studies in 7th grade, earlier American history in 8th grade, and then no social studies in 9th grade. Why? And then later world studies, the whole world studies, for maybe the last 200 or 300 years in 10th grade, and American history in 11th grade. And then perhaps economics and